Hare Krishna. Welcome to the series of Srimad Bhagvatam discussion. Today we shall be discussing text number 6 from the first chapter of the first canto of Bhagavatam. Om Jnanathmirandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So the text 6 is ṛṣayaḥ tvayā khalu purāṇāni setihāsāni cānagha ākhyātāni adhītāni dharma-śāstrāṇi yāni. The sages said, Respected Sūta Gosvāmī, you are completely free from all vices. You are well versed in all these scriptures famous for religious life and in the Purāṇas and the histories as well. For you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. So here we are reading the 6th verse from the first chapter. There are certain words which are very significant in this particular verse. So the sages of Naimisharanya, they are actually referring to Sūta Gosvāmī as anagha. Anagha means one who is free from all the sins. Agha means sins, and anagha means one who has no sins. Or in simple words, a person who is free from all the vices. Because sins generally are a result of a person's engaging in different kinds of vices. Especially in the modern times, there are 4 vices. There are 4 activities which constitute the sin and pull down the person's consciousness from understanding the spiritual subject matter. So these 4 things are meat eating, because killing of animals simply for the satisfaction of the taste bud, just because I want to satisfy my tongue, I kill the animals and eat the flesh. That activity is highly detrimental to one's spiritual progress. A person especially interested in spiritual understanding and spiritual progress must refrain from the foodstuffs which are a result of extreme violence to other living entities. So, meat eating. Second is gambling. Gambling, for example, is an activity which completely agitates a person's mind. For example, if somebody goes to gamble, the mind is too much occupied with win, lose. And such an agitated mind cannot understand or focus on spiritual subject matter. Understanding spirituality requires peaceful mind. Similarly, the meat eating also actually agitates the mind, makes the mind very, very agitated. Because when the animal is killed, the animal is extremely fearful and agitated. So when the dead body of that animal is eaten in any form, that also brings that fear and agitation in the mind of a person who eats it. Okay? So meat eating, gambling. And then intoxication. Intoxication of any form. Drinking liquor, smoking marijuana, or any form of weeds that actually makes a person addicted to, or influences a person's thinking ability. In modern times, a lot of people think taking some form of intoxicants like smoking marijuana and all is very conducive for spiritual realizations. But that has nothing to do with spirituality. In fact, any form of intoxication simply pulls down a person's consciousness. A thing that makes us addicted to, whether it's liquor or any hard drinks, or even if it is tea and coffee. I mean, I know many of my friends, if they don't get a cup of tea, their head starts, hurting. That means they are addicted to. So any form of addiction is actually detrimental. Now, some people may say, well, I'm not addicted to, but I, sometimes smoke or sometimes drink. But if a person is serious in his spirituality, and especially a person who wants to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam or explain Srimad Bhagavatam and understand it as well, cannot be engaging in any form of intoxicants. The person has to be anagha, free from all the sins. So, meat eating, gambling, intoxication, and illicit sex. The fourth activity, the fourth vice, which is illicit sex. Sex outside of marriage life. Practically all the religions of the world, they recommend the union between man and woman should be strictly only under the regulation of marriage. So if a person is interested in spiritual upliftment, there is a scope of association with the opposite sex, especially in the school of Bhakti Yoga. No. But that should be only under the strict vow of marriage. No. So then, yes, that is allowed. But any form of sexual indulgence outside of marriage is not allowed. So this is the four vices which are highly detrimental to a person's spiritual progress. And a person who is engaging in these four activities cannot have good intelligence to understand the spiritual subject matter. And definitely such a person cannot even explain. Because explaining the spiritual subject matter requires, first of all, understanding it. And understanding is generally done through peaceful mind. Another aspect which is very important here is the process of hearing and chanting is the most effective way of passing down the wisdom in the spiritual life. Anyone who is interested in understanding Srimad Bhagavatam can read it, Srimad Bhagavatam, but simply reading will not bring the proper understanding. One must hear it from a person who has understood it and has been practicing Srimad Bhagavatam in his life. Not like the professional reciters. There are a lot of people who professionally give lectures on Srimad Bhagavatam, or even on spirituality, on a spiritual subject matter. Not hearing from such people. Hearing from a bona fide Goswāmī, or a person who has freedom from all the four vices of meat eating, gambling, intoxication, and illicit sex. So hearing from such a person, and then after hearing, one should try to explain it to others. Whoever is at less advantageous position of not having any wisdom or any knowledge about spirituality or Srimad Bhagavatam, try to explain them whatever you have learned. To the extent you have learned, you try to explain to others. So that is called Shravanam and Kirtanam. Hearing and repeating or speaking. That is the most effective way of understanding the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and explaining it to others. So here the sages are actually referring to Sūta Gosvāmī as anagha, And one more qualification they are saying is that you are expert. They are referring here Sūta Gosvāmī as an expert who has assimilated the knowledge of the revealed scriptures. And therefore, a person who has understood the scriptures, all the scriptures, only such a person can have a proper perspective. The scriptures, especially the Vedic scriptures, are very vast. There are 4 Vedas, there are 108 Upanishads, then there are Vedanta Sutra, then there are Purāṇas, 18 of them, then there is itihāsa like Mahabharata. So a person who is expert in spiritual science must have the knowledge of these, or at least the essence of those scriptures he should have understanding of. And that is possible simply by hearing from a bona fide teacher, a person who has heard it from his teacher and has practiced it in his life. So that's the sum and substance of this verse. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.